And welcome to another edition of the Big Nick Energy Podcast. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, and comment on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Pods, and Podbean. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, join our Facebook group, and join our Chalkboard. It's a messaging board app designed specifically around gambling and sports. Our page is over 110 members now. We had a giveaway at 100. Congrats to the winner for the Knicks tickets. Our next giveaway will be at 250. We're talking about potentially doing a signed Knicks autographed either basketball or something else. We will get that info to you as soon as possible. But thank you for getting us to over 100. I have a very special guest today, Danny Marang, one half of the Danny and Dusty Show, airing noon to 3 p.m. Pacific on Portland's 1080 The Fan. You can also find that on Odyssey, since most of my listeners are in New York and Connecticut. And also the one half of the Jack's Ramsays podcast, which can be found wherever you get your podcast, and the Blue Wire Pods Network, and on YouTube, which I subscribed to your page today, and anywhere else you find them. Danny, how you doing today?
I'm good, man. Appreciate the intro. I deserve none of those things, but I appreciate you.
I mean,
you got how this works,
right?
I call it failing upwards. I think that's how it works. But yeah, no, I mean, it's a dream gig. Don't let anybody fool you. Getting to talk sports for a living. Like the downside of this things is like I have to watch very bad football.
That's fair.
Every weekend during the NFL season, I have to watch a lot of very bad basketball. Those are like the downsides. Like, oh, it's got to be great doing like radio for a living. It's like, it is. The downside is
you cover bad or bad, it sucks.
Yeah, imagine you're wearing a Jets hat, right? Or
yeah.
Jets beanie right now. Imagine you had to go and watch every season of bad Jets football, regardless of how you felt about it. Let's say you're not even a fan. Let's take the worst decade of Jets football, and you had to go watch it, and you're a Giants fan.
Right.
Like like I'm a Raiders fan, up here. It's not exactly huge Raiders fans, but
is it more Seattle where you're at?
It's actually it's national brands. The Raiders are probably like third, but it's 49ers, Steelers, Packers, Raiders, like all in like there's a hard cutoff.
National brand, and even being like you're in Oregon, like why would you be a Steelers fan?
It's super weird here, man. The Portland runs up to the river in the north, and this is true for when the Sonics were here too. Fandom for sports, there's a hard cutoff of that river. The Columbia River is like oh, you guys are close to Seattle because Portland has this complex about like being Seattle's little brother.
Right.
I laugh in Los Angeles. I'm literally wearing USC gear like head to toe right now. I'm from LA originally, and so I just kind of laugh at everybody. But
that makes sense.
It is a very weird situation here.
That's fair. That's fair. I live in Connecticut, and where New Haven is, where Yale is, and stuff like that. East of it is all Boston, and west of it's all New York. And if you go to New
hard
Haven,
line.
it's such a hard. And those are such bitter rivals. It's really weird to deal with. What's weird is that outside of the Jets thing, the Jets Pats obviously have to deal with, but I'm a Mets fan, and no one cares. It's all Yankees versus Red Sox. Like literally, as the Mets, I can just watch two guys fight, and I can referee. That's basically it. Because I told you prior to us recording, my computer is now at 10%, and my charger
go
is not going.
Kick it.
I wanted to talk to you. I got you on here. You cover Portland. Want to talk about Cam Reddish and Josh Hart, right?
Yeah.
So I had a couple questions for you, just so everyone fills in. The Portland Trailblazers are 1-2 since they got Cam Reddish. The Knicks are 3-0, as everyone that listens to this knows. Josh Hart has lit it up. Effort, rebounding, defensive intensity. We all expected that when he came to New York. Obviously, that's been his calling card throughout his career. One thing we did not expect as Knicks fans is the scoring and shooting, which obviously you didn't see basically all year. He scored 11, 27, and 13 in his 3 games. Yeah. He made 9 threes. He made 11 since January 1st up until his last game as a Portland Trailblazer. Yeah. Why was he shooting 23% on the current 2023 calendar year up until he went to New York? Like, what happened in Portland? Did he lose the green light? We don't understand here.
I actually asked Josh about this. I'll give you the link to it. I've got an actual video. I've got it on video. I asked him late December, early January. Because his 3-point rate plummeted. Because when they acquired him the season before, granted the roster was a little bit different, but he was just getting them up. And the problem wasn't that he wasn't taking them. It's like he wasn't taking wide open shots.
Oh, it's rough. That's not good.
Yeah, no, like it was a clear mental block. And look, man, Josh has got a wife who's pregnant with twins, and he knew that the likelihood was there when he's being traded. I think it got to him, and I don't think it's necessarily an indictment. I love Josh. I think the Knicks is a great place for him. I think getting to be with his BFF Jalen, the Villanova boys uniting, Tibbs is going to love.
They almost got
Josh.
to keep Arcidiacono, if not for the contracts.
Yes, like they wanted to get their Villanova Voltron going.
Yeah,
and Like I held no ill will towards him. Like even like I was frustrating watching it because I know how good of a player he is. But also Josh was the kind of guy who, after he goes like 0 of 4 from 3 in a game because he's record scratching and he's struggling, he goes in the locker room and just goes down the hallway and screams and cusses himself out.
I could see that easily.
Like he's just hyper competitive. And I think it was just a mental block. I genuinely do. Now, as hot as he is from 3 right now for you guys, I would expect that he's got the new trade bump. Right, new city, new teammates. Everybody gets that, no matter what situation they come from. It's like, oh, this is like, Cam came out.
Cam had 18 points in a game for you and didn't even play for a month. So
yeah, and that's the thing. You get that, that new car smell. But I think Josh is a guy who 35, 36%, and just taking the threes that he needs to take.
Right.
That was the problem that we ran into with Josh. Was one, he was being asked to play the 3, mostly because Nasir Little spent up until about a month ago, we're still recovering from the same core surgery that Damian Lillard and Gary Payton II had.
Why is that a thing that your team has suffered through? I've never even heard anyone have core injuries, really.
I know, it's crazy, right? For GP, it was his 3rd surgery, his 3rd core surgery. So he's been dealing with it for literally a decade. Dame's been fighting it for 5 years, and it was really Drew Holiday who had the same surgery, who told Dame, dude, go do this. And there was a couple NFL guys I think he talked to too, but it was just a weird circumstance. Nasir was down with a separated shoulder too. So like he got basically, let's go ahead and take care of all of the maintenance stuff. And it was just a weird conflated place to be. But Nasir was kind of the guy who was looked at was going to be the starting 3. He just physically wasn't capable of it. And so they insert Josh in the starting lineup. And I think things were they wanted Josh to be more 6-man-y.
Right.
But And they wanted, I mean, if you listen to his exit interviews last year, like they told him like, hey, we want you to kind of help Anthony run the second unit and be that guy. It's a little bit like you're the guy on the backside when they run a 1-5 pick and roll like Nurk and Simons that, if they load up and take that away, we want you to go run that on the backside on the weak side of the defense where the help is, is weaker. And I think
which he's shown us in 3 games, he's phenomenal at already. Yes. He basically plays defensive center field. He's amazing.
Yeah, and then offensively, like he just runs a little bit like a secondary action stuff, worked on spot ups, and goes in transition. Now, the transition stuff, he struggled with, finishing at the rim. But other than that, I didn't really have any complaints about Josh other than him passing up shots.
Right, which he hasn't done yet. And like you said, it's the new trade bump. You get that whenever you go to a new team. We see it all the time. It's not just Josh Hart. You're
still going to love him because of his competitiveness, his engine. His activity makes it so other guys can't be lazy.
I wanted to ask you because of his activity that's just so noticeable. What is the floor like? What is him in a bad game doing? Just having foul trouble basically and not taking shots, or is there something else we should look out for?
Because he's still going to be impactful. Because he's still he's earned a reputation in the NBA. And he's allowed to be physical. He's clearly the best rebounding guard in the NBA.
There's an advantage to being a smaller guy playing positions. They can let you get away with stuff.
Yeah, when you play up or you get on switches, they'll let you maul the hell out of guys.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is Josh is ask any big in the league. Like they hate little guys because the little guys get to just hammer on them.
Yeah.
But Josh is a guy you don't worry about him. And as a coach, especially a coach like Tibbs wants guys he trusts. That's why Taj Gibson still plays. It's because guys that he trusts get on the floor. And those are the kind of dudes, it doesn't matter how old you are, how young you, now it's not true. If you're young, Tibbs hates you anyways.
Yeah. RJ Barrett's been the only person, I think because he was the 3rd overall pick. That it's been you're getting 40 minutes, whatever.
The front office said, no matter what you're playing.
Exactly.
I don't care what Tom says, you're playing RJ. But I mean, he's a coach who goes by what he trusts. And by getting Josh Hart, you gave Tibbs another rotation guy.
Yep.
Who he trusts the second he gets there. Because Jay Wright made pros.
Yes, he did.
If blank slate, if you're offering me players and I know nothing about any of them, give me 2 sets of players. Tom Crean Marquette players or Jay Wright Villanova players.
Yep.
Either one of those groups, and I'm going to be happy because you're going to get guys who know the game, who understand the game, who play the game the right way. And Josh Hart is a guy who you understand is going to go out there and play the right way.
One thing they do both from both those schools and a couple others, I actually think George Mason, when they made the Final Four, they also do this, but their guys weren't nearly as good. Knowing where a rebound is popping off the rim is such an innate trait that you can learn when you're young, but you don't learn when you're older. To be able to read where a three-pointer is going to come off, and then to be 6'4", get 19 rebounds in the game, as we saw earlier in the year, there's just so many guys that don't do that. And one thing that you might run into, or I've already seen with Cam Reddish, is that he doesn't have that innate trait. The things that he'll run into on your team is that
he had 18, 2 and 2.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you get the highs and the lows, and it's like, but if he misses a couple threes, unlike Josh Hart, who's going to try to impact the game in a different way, Cam will shoot himself out of the game altogether. Another guy you guys got at the same exact deadline, obviously, a couple weeks ago, is Matissye Thybulle. Who were you more excited about getting initially, and what have you? Because Matissye Thybulle also made 4 threes in the game for the first time all year, his first game in Portland. So between Cam Reddish and Matissye Thybulle, who were you more excited to see and why? Exactly.
I know Tease. Like I know what he is and what kind of what his ceiling is, and like he can unlock a few more things, go from like a 32 to 36% 3-point shooter. Like that's really all you're asking Tease.
That would be ideal.
Like just be league average.
Yeah,
league average. We can leave you on the floor, dude. Like that's the thing that you're looking with him. So it's for me, it's Cam. You've got a 6'7". Like I'd seen Cam play before in person. I had never really spent time with Cam, and getting to spend a little bit of time with Cam. He's a big ass kid.
He's big.
Yeah, and so that was the thing that was like, this is like, I get it. I know
he's also strong for his size. You don't think it because he doesn't actually box out a lot. He runs into situations that you don't expect.
But you see him use his strength though, and you go, oh,
his drives when he's going, you'll see.
He puts his shoulder down and guys get out of the way.
Yep.
And whether he moves them or they learn real quick. Obviously, Mike Schmitz is the assistant GM now or one of the assistant GMs now for the Portland Trailblazers. And Mike Schmitz is of Draft Express, ESPN, scout extraordinaire with Gavoni for years. Tease and Cam are both guys that Mike was like, yeah, I can see some upside in them. And the note about Tease coming out of college was that UW played a 2-3 zone.
Yep.
And they didn't play, it's like Syracuse. It's not, but the zone is becoming a bit more in vogue. And hell, Portland, I think they lead the league in zone usage right now. Last time I looked, they were the top 3. They kind of bounce around. But
I bet the Knicks are near last if that was the case.
No, they are. Yes, they are. I noticed that because I was like, oh, well, Josh doesn't play any more zone.
Yeah.
But I kind of know what Tease is, and I know he can be disruptive. He's literally in the 100th percentile in both steal and block percentage for wings. Cam, like Chauncey Billups, seems to think that he can get more.
There's a lot of meat on that bone. There is a lot more to get.
Yeah. And Chauncey has said this about a lot of young guys. Like talks about pouring into young guys, pouring into Anthony Simons, pouring into Shaedon Sharpe, and then pouring into Cam Reddish. On that same note, Kevin Knox was also added to the Trailblazers in a deal. I was another obviously former Knick, and was asked about, kind of the pecking order of things. And he basically hinted at this is Kevin Knox's last stop, kind of a situation. Like if he doesn't figure it out here, don't know if he's going to be in the league.
Might be going to Shanghai. Yeah.
Yeah. And that like, because, we asked it in the pregame when they first, all the guys got here, like who's playing where and kind of who's got what leash. And Cam's obviously started the very first night because they wanted to get a look at him. And that's where the Blazers are at right now. They want to get a look.
Thybulle started the second night, right? Because he came in the game after Cam.
Mm-hmm. And I would imagine, because Anthony Simons is going to be out for a couple of weeks with a sprained ankle. Right. I think they're going to start Tease and Cam for that time period. I think they'll continue bringing Sharpe off the bench just because it's easier to do that.
Right.
And they're going to see over the final 24 games. That's what the thing. Like they know what they have in Shaedon Sharpe.
Are they going to be your 2-3, right? Because you have Grant still healthy and Nurkic, right?
Yeah. Jerami just came back from concussion protocols. Nurk isn't going to be back tomorrow night, but he'll be back in probably a couple nights.
I read this online. You guys didn't get a single. Was it one game with your original starting 5 that was supposed to be? It was supposed to be Lillard, Simons, Hart, Grant, and Nurkic, and it never happened.
Oh no, they never had their top 8. They had their starting lineup, but they never had Nasir Little healthy.
Gotcha.
With everybody else healthy. So they never had the preferred starting lineup of Dame, Ant, Little, Grant, Nurkic with Hart, Gary Payton II, Shaedon Sharpe off the bench. They did not have a single game.
And 3 of them abdominal injuries. That is insane.
Mm-hmm.
That is
wild. It's a major bummer too, because literally Damian Lillard is having the best season of his career.
Yes. Part of that, I think, is because of the scoring boom, obviously, we're seeing, but he's shooting 30, he's getting 31 points a game and shooting over 40% from three. He's phenomenal. It's unbelievable to watch this guy. I wanted to ask you if I had more charge on my computer about Dame Lillard and like his future in Portland, why he's been there so long. But because I'm actually low on charging, I wanted to get to the players you actually mentioned, because you also mentioned Kevin Knox. You guys have 5 players that are more or less wings. One of them being Jerami Grant, who you guys already offered the 4-year max to, but he's probably going to hold out to the 5-year max eligible June 30th, correct?
Yes, and I would imagine come July 1st, you are going to see Jerami Grant, a Portland Trailblazer, on a 5-year deal.
You think they're going to give him all 233?
I don't think it's going to be a max. I think you're going to see a 5-year deal. I would imagine anywhere between 5,150, 5,160.
Okay, right just the extra year security. That makes sense. He's also going to be 29 going into next year.
It is going to be his year 35 contract.
Yes.
At 32, 33 million a year. Seems like the sweet spot.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And by then, you just become Bogdanovich on the Detroit Pistons. Maybe someone will give you a 2-year, $19 million a year deal.
Exactly.
You can still score. Between the other 4 guys, though, so Matissye, Thybulle, Cam Reddish, Justice Winslow, Kevin Knox, 2 restricted free agents in Thybulle and Reddish. Knox is a team option if he gets it, hopefully for his career. And then Justin Winslow is unrestricted free agent. How many of those 4 guys do you think the Trailblazers end up keeping?
3 for sure. Because I think that the whole point of getting Tease and Reddish was that their RFA status.
Okay.
So that they had the ability,
the
because here's the thing. Portland is loading for bear this summer. Whatever star shakes free, they're going after. Whether it's Philadelphia implodes and Embiid gets the market, like if Harden goes back to Houston and he's like, and Embiid says, I'm out.
Insane to just he'd go to a borderline tanking team and bring him to 35 wins a year.
Who, Embiid?
No, if the Harden went to Houston.
Oh yeah, no, like look, man, it sounds like it's gonna happen.
That's insane.
So and then what shakes out there? If Chris Middleton leaves the Bucks, if let's say the Bucks don't win a title, does Giannis want to stay? Is Anthony Davis leaving Los Angeles? Is Trae Young getting traded out of Atlanta? Like I wouldn't be surprised if you saw 5 or 6 guys shake free this summer. Yeah. I think this summer is going to be nuts on the market, and Portland needs tertiary guys, 6, 7, 8, 9, $10 million contracts.
Right.
To not only trade, but also to backfill, because if you look at the Phoenix Suns right now, they have nobody on the roster.
Yeah, they got rid of, Johnson and Bridges. It's just like, it's so rough once you give her the guy.
You get rid of all your wings. It's like, we got the guy, but we have nobody behind him anywhere.
And he's not even playing yet.
Yeah, and you've got to have some guys. Yeah. Like you need to have a Tease. You need to have a Reddish. You need to have a Justice Winslow. Like you need to have some rotation guys. You can be like, okay, we're not going to crap the bed and stock G League guys here. Winslow's an interesting case because he's injury prone. He's injured right now. He's on a high ankle sprain. He's been out 6 weeks.
Yep.
Blazers don't have full bird. They only have early bird rights, and he's at a $4 million deal right now, so they can offer him 6, which
there's a chance he still gets more than that in the open market.
Yeah, like
more
I can
from
see
a veteran than anything actually shown.
Yeah, a veteran team who's like looking to make a push, the Milwaukee's of the world, whatever team that ends up being, because he's a 6'6" point forward wing who can play like some small ball center and has good playmaking. He's a good vet.
Just can't shoot and can't stay in the court.
Yeah, the can't stay on the court thing is the bigger thing than the can't shoot right now. Like he's just he just hasn't played, man.
Do you think you're going to keep Kevin Knox just because it's such a cheap deal, or do you think this might be for the guy?
I think at $3 million they at least have to like consider it, because it's either that or you carry a vet min guy. I guess it all depends on exactly where they end up in the tax levels.
He's still only 23 years old. I mean,
that's the thing is, like, I think if you're looking at it, you're paying another $1.5 million,
right,
from vet min, because he's in his year 5.
Yeah.
So he's under the what is it? I think it's 8 years of service that it flips over.
This is the veteran thing, yeah.
Yeah, so he's still not even like the full vet max, or vet minimum max. Where it's like, oh, it's like $4 million. It's like, no, he's $3 million a year. Like I don't even know how that deal got cut, but yeah, I would imagine that bare minimum, they take a look at it, unless they just say, screw it, and they bring him back on a vet min. He's
gotten better at shooting. He's not as off the ball terrible as he used to be. He's gotten incrementally better. Yeah. It's just that he started, like, if you're thinking of like high school, like grades, he started at like a 55 and he's up to like a 60 now. So it's like, he's almost passing like worthwhile of being in the league, especially so cheap. It's just he's got
so
caught up on so many things. Exactly. Another guy with length.
And that's the thing is that Portland, they're very much stocking up on size.
Yeah.
Like that's what they want to do. They went from being the least athletic team in the NBA in the Dame CJ era. Like their MO now is like, we want to get more athletic. Like Shaedon Sharpe, if you haven't seen him play, top 99.9 percentile athlete in the NBA.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely insane. Jerami
I
Grant,
feel bad for Kentucky, honestly, that they never really got to see him.
Woo, buddy, let me tell you, he does stuff that will blow your mind.
Yeah.
I mean, they went out and go get Jerami Grant. People don't think of him like this high-level athlete. Like he's a 6'9" dude who can do everything.
Jerami Grant's a great NBA player.
Yes, and Anthony Simons is a monster athlete. 45-inch vertical, can create space with literally the best shot creators in the entire NBA. Their whole idea, Tease, is got a 40-inch vertical, like with a 7-foot wingspan. Cam is a high level. Like the Blazers are just trying to get more athletic. And then you look at their center and you see Yusuf Nurkic, you go, what about him?
I mean, when you have that many wings that are able to cover that much ground, though, your center being a defensive anchor that can't move as much or far isn't as big a deal. He's still a long guy. Yeah.
Yes.
So, I wanted to ask you one question before my computer dies.
Yeah,
because I'm still a Knicks podcast. As an Oregon-based radio and podcast host, you only see the Knicks 2, maybe 3 times a year. Oh, I think it's only 2 times a year though. Whenever you catch them on national TV, what is your version of the scouting report for the New York Knicks when you see them?
I could not be lower on RJ if I tried. So
that is who I was referring to in this question.
And I don't mean that like he's the worst NBA player. I don't see I see Alec Burks with a lesser mid-range jump shot.
Right.
The one thing about being out in Oregon is I have the Hoop Summit. And so for those that don't know, Nike Hoop Summit's that's the Team USA Junior National Select team. And RJ was on that team, and it was the same team as Zion. And I remember scouts jumping over themselves, talking about and complimenting, oh, RJ redid his jump shot. And I'm sitting there watching practice after practice after practice after practice. I'm like, clang, 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 clang. And I'm just going, this kid can't shoot.
Yeah.
Like
he's strong and he drives well though when he commits to it.
But that's the thing is like, it's just, he's not a natural shooter.
Right.
If he was a natural shooter, then his game opens up everything else because he's struggling finishing at the rim now. It's like, if you don't have like my whole deal as it pertains to personnel in the NBA, what are your no doubt NBA skills? Like, what is RJ great at?
Driving with strength when there's not a guy much larger than him or a center he can't shoot over because he also doesn't have out of the gym athleticism. He's not the 40-inch vertical guy we're talking about.
And that's the thing is like, okay, if you're not going to shoot, you better be A+ athlete.
Right.
Because you're going to
Jalen Brunson, or you could literally have a phenomenal post game being small.
Or incredible touch.
Yeah.
Like you need to have something. And that's the thing is like, I don't think RJ has he's good at plenty of stuff. And again, I don't think he's a bad player. I just think that he was way overdrafted. He's not a draft bust. He's a rotation level NBA player. There's no doubt about that.
Danny, the fact also, I asked you that and I didn't bring up RJ is amazing.
Get get quickly on the floor more.
Yeah.
I watch a lot more Knicks games than you think. I'm a league pass psycho. Like Hartenstein was a guy that Portland was after.
Yeah.
In the offseason. And then I know they had discussions around him here at the deadline. Like, we take him. I think he's a heady guy who needs to figure some stuff out.
He's actually gotten better as the defensive anchor without Mitchell Robinson. It's actually him and Sims both picked up their game a lot for the Tibbs defensive system. It's been really good to see.
It takes a while to kind of get in line with Tibbs and for Tibbs to trust you. And that's kind of how that works.
Yeah.
But I like Quick. I love Brunson. Randall is Randall. I had a lot of Knicks guys who were like, "Hey, would you?" Before they traded CJ. Like, do you think CJ for Randall? And I was like, "No, God, no. I don't want to see Dame and CJ on the floor together. That spacing just sounds like particular kind of hell."
Yeah.
But like, I think the Knicks are kind of heading in the right direction. I still think you all were absolutely insane to pass on Donovan Mitchell.
I mean, especially with it being RJ Barrett and seeing his either regression or stagnation this year.
Yeah, there's no reason
to be held up because of Quentin Grimes, which as much as we love Quentin Grimes and he's phenomenal on defense, he has always the highest matchup difficulty, all those charts you see online, B-ball index, like phenomenal guy defensively. You don't not say yes to Donovan Mitchell for like a top 20 NBA defender and like the 200th best offensive player. That just blows my mind.
That's the thing. Yeah. So when superstars become available and you're the Knicks and you haven't had that chance and you literally have one gift wrap for you.
Yeah.
That's when you, I don't think they're going to rue the day. I think they kind of, they dropped the ball on that one, but they'll have another chance when Dawn's up for free agency again in 2 years. So
yeah. And then, like you're saying, Embiid. I mean, Embiid to the Knicks, he's CAA. That is, if he leaves, the thing is, the Knicks trading with the Celtics, the Nets, or the Sixers or Heat is borderline impossible unless we send like a Godfather offer. But I mean, there's some weird things about CAA and the Knicks that we all know about. So
yeah, certainly that's certainly there. If Embiid drops and changes agencies, I would give up all hope at that point.
Oh yeah, for sure. But if he's CAA, then 1%, man.
There's always at least a chance. Exactly. It's like the Lakers when there's clutch. You're like, yeah, even if things are really bad right now, maybe Braun's feeling good. Okay.
Yeah. So. Danny, thank you for coming on. Much appreciated. I honestly wish I could have had 20 to 30 more minutes with you, but I'm down to 3% now, so I have to get off in order for it to save before my computer dies.
No worries, man.
Much appreciated. Again, everyone, make sure to like, share, subscribe, and comment on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Pods, and Podbean. You can find Danny's stuff on the Odyssey app. You can find it on Blue Wire Pods. It's the name of the show is
I'm everywhere.
He's literally everywhere. He's way more places than I am. That's for sure. Danny and Dusty show airing noon to 3 Pacific on Portland's 1080 The Fan. And you can find him as host of the Jack Ramsays podcast, which I wanted to one quick thing before you
go.
Jack Ramsay, who did die a few years ago, RIP. I wanted to hear like one fun thing about the Bill Walton Trailblazers championship team, because I know Bill Walton on the Trailblazers is actually a negative thing in hindsight outside of the one championship. Just give me one quick story.
He did ride his bicycle throughout the entire parade route down Broadway. So that's one of the other things. And real quick, just for your listeners, the name, the Jack Ramsays of the show, it's Jacked ED Ramsays. We actually got Chris Ramsay, Jack's son, permission to use the name. So all we have to do is mention that Jack Ramsay, the Jack Ramsay Foundation, which is still active and ongoing, it's focused on developing basketball in Africa. So
that's
think
awesome.
of Basketball Without Borders. So if you want to check it out or dig into it, that's one way you can go kind of support not just me, but the foundation.
For the foundation specifically, DM me the link on Twitter.
Cool.
We'll
Absolutely.
add it to the thing of this podcast. Let's go Knicks. Let's go Blazers the rest of the year. Peace.
Take care.